All right, and welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. This is episode 6 of The Way of Kings from Stormlight Archive. I am your host, Midnight, and I'm here with
Hi.
Darkness
Oh,
and
hi.
Mythic.
Hello.
And we did chapters 19 to 23? 23 this week. uh, so yeah,
Wow, you couldn't remember? Oh my
look,
god.
it's fine. So yeah, we'll start with chapter 19, which is called Starfalls.
You know,
Uh,
maybe if you pinned it, you would remember.
I did pin it,
Yeah,
and
I
I did
know.
check the pin. That's how I remembered. So we're gonna go straight into the epigraph, which is he holds the most frightening and terrible of all the shards. Ponder on that for a time, you old reptile, and tell me if your insistence on non-intervention holds firm. Because I assure you, Rays will not be similarly inhibited. So we've now been confirmed that Rays is 100% a shard. And so what do you think about the fact that he holds the most terrible of the shards? So apparently Ruin is not the most terrible of the shards. Apparently this shard is worse.
Hard to believe, so. I think it's that one shard.
Which one?
Okay, I'm so good at explaining stuff. Um, the. Well, I don't know. It could be like, what's that one shard called?
The shards
The one
that you
that
guys
shattered
know
the
that
other
we
one.
haven't met are Cultivation, Autonomy, and, well, you kind of met Autonomy because Autonomy is from what you said, and Odium. So Cultivation and Odium, I think, are the only ones that we don't know where they're from.
But yet somehow this is the worst one of them all. Got it.
Yes.
I want it to be Odium so bad, but I also want it to be something we've never met before.
I mean, Odium is hatred, basically.
So that would make sense on why it's the worst.
It could make sense for being the worst of the shards. Definitely
Mm-hmm.
true.
Yeah,
Well,
hatred
I
is
don't know,
ugly.
because it'd be interesting if it's something like actual, like where it goes with its name. You know how like their name is Razor or whatever. Like, what if they do like RA, like ZE for like as in like destroy?
Oh
I mean, that's
yeah,
kind of
like
really close to
Raisin.
Ruin,
Yeah.
though, isn't it? Destroy.
Yeah, it does. It sounds really close to ruin, but I mean,
Ruin is different though.
yeah, he wants to ruin things. He doesn't want to destroy them in per se. He just wants to ruin them.
he the only reason he was ruined is because he had a boyfriend that he wanted to ruin.
Yeah, exactly. And they just didn't want him after a while.
Razor's just lonely, so they would just like destroy everything.
I mean, I feel like Rays needs a little bit of balance in their life.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get Sazed in here.
Also, what do you think the
What
writer
if
means by calling the receiver an old reptile?
He looks like a lizard
Mhm.
with his
The
leather
lizard
skin.
people.
His leather skin. I mean, it's true. They are in the sewers. At least in the United States. I don't know about in Canada.
It's too cold up there. The ones
Yeah,
are
right.
like
I
hibernation.
mean, well, the deeper you get into the earth, the warmer it gets. So,
That's like way too low though.
well, yeah. We can send
Because if you're
Jesus
near
down
the
there.
surface and you're underground, it's gonna be hella cold.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been into a manhole, but they're pretty fucking warm.
I live in the sewers.
Of
I'm one of
course you
them.
do.
Exactly. So you should know then that it's relatively warm in comparison to however cold it might be up top.
So going into this actual chapter, are you guys excited that we actually got to see one of Dalinar's visions?
No.
Yes. I like how we were both on opposite sides there.
No, but I just want to say
I was gonna
that.
say I know Darkness was interested. He's
Yeah.
lying.
Yeah, I mean,
This is the only part I'm interested in his like whole life. Like I'll give a fuck about the rest.
So we start with.
that's it.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. The visions, that's it. That's the
We
only
see
thing he's
Wonder Woman. It's crazy.
We do. We can see Wonder Woman for sure.
So we start with Dalinar's point of view as he begins one of his high storm visions. He's in a barn on a cool night wearing clothing that he thought of as ancient. This was his 12th vision, although it felt like he had gone through many more. He gets startled from his thoughts when a small child presses up against him in the dark. The girl calls him father and asks about her mother, whom he replies will be fine. He then hears a soft scratch at the far wall, and the girl whimpers in response. After a moment of silence, the wall bursts inwards, and Dalinar can barely make out a dark creature in the dim moonlight. So what do you think about the fact that Dalinar isn't himself in his visions? He's like someone else, and apparently he's always someone else, he mentions.
Well, that's what made me start thinking about the fact that maybe he's, seeing through other people's eyes, but like in the past or possibly, I mean, I guess it's in the past, but because they say it later, but But
Well,
like
he,
at that
he
point, I was like, it could be a future, like his future, like a future or a past,
Hmm.
mhm,
thing, or
Yeah,
present. Actually, I also thought about it being like maybe something that's happening currently.
and like some like
that'd
little
be
town that has
interesting.
like really old,
Hmm.
like doesn't have like good construction and stuff.
Yeah. Go on, darkness. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, he is the chosen one after all.
Oh yeah, well that's true.
Kaladin's not
Well,
the chosen one after all.
no,
No, he's also
Kaladin.
the chosen.
Kaladin is a chosen one. Yes.
Just like how everyone's the hero of ages, everyone's the chosen one.
Everyone is the hero of ages. Every single person in that book that was on the side of history was the hero of ages. Hell, even the Lord Ruler was the hero of ages.
Technically,
Because if he hadn't done all of what he did, he wouldn't have created Vin, and Vin
Mhm.
wouldn't have been such a menace to him, and then created what they did.
therefore, Vin is his daughter.
Tardis' theory from way back when.
Well, therefore, I mean,
uh,
we never met her father, right?
no, we did. Remember, she pointed out her
No,
father, who
no,
was an
we never met her
obligator.
father. So yeah, no, we never met her
Wait,
father.
technically, if you think about it, technically, actually, the Lord Ruler was the reason why Vin is alive, right?
He hadn't
Or
made that
was
guy an
alive.
obligator. He wouldn't have fucked around with
Right,
random
right.
spa women.
Now, now keep that in mind. People who get adopted usually take on their, um, adopted parents as their actual parents now, right?
Hmm.
So Kelsier technically took her in
Yeah,
and raised her,
I don't
Kelsier's
right?
know.
adopted.
I
Yeah.
still, I still, I still think Kelsey was her like intended lover.
Oh God.
No, these two facts clearly state that Kelsier and the Lord Ruler were lovers.
Oh
Oh yeah,
God. They were the two
clearly,
dads.
yeah, clearly.
Anyways, so Dalinar pulls the girl to the side as the creature leaps at them, just barely keeping her safe from it. The dim violet lighting from Salus made it impossible to see the creature inside the barn as it blended in with the shadows. He hears it sniffing for them, and he grabs a sack of grain to use as a shield as the creature lunges for them again. As the creature tears into the sack of grain, Dalinar throws the grain into the air and then kicks the creature and notes that it feels too soft under his foot, like a water skin. Once the creature is knocked to the ground, Dalinar pulls the girl over his shoulder and runs out of the barn. He sees a small village protected from high storms by a high stone wall that looks like a wave. He heads towards the nearest building, which is an archaic-looking farmhouse, as he hears the creature crashing into the barn behind him. He bangs on the door. Just as he's about to try and break it down, it opens, and a middle-aged woman quickly closes the door behind them. She calls Dalinar Heb and thanks him for finding the child. So what do you think about how ancient this time period of Dalinar's vision is?
I'm sorry, I got distracted by the
I
Well,
see that.
well, the we did you did ask about when we think the visions take place.
I didn't.
Yep,
Mythic just
we
brought
did.
that up on his own.
No,
Yeah.
no, you did, and the others.
Oh, well, yeah, and another one of our,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, another
Yeah, sorry.
episode.
Before we had seen a vision.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure I had two options, right? Two things that I said, which was back in the time where the thing was happening, in the
The
pro in
Desolations?
the that scene we get in the beginning of the book.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
when
just
they're
finished a
murdering?
desolation. Yeah, the heralds when they were
Yeah.
breaking their oath.
Yeah, when
So
they murdered the king. Is that what you're talking about?
No,
oh,
he's talking about the prelude where it was the guys who left that one guy in damnation. And we're like, yeah, we're gonna leave our swords here and never. We're gonna pretend
Oh
like
yeah,
we
yeah,
won.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Totally remember all that.
Yeah.
uh, well, it was that or like a future, but
Hmm.
you know, I mean, I guess it works out. So I was prepared for both,
Hmm.
and in the beginning of this chapter where he started the vision, I was like, oh, it is the past one.
Hmm. Do you think it's all the way back when they were around, or do you think it's like technically a little closer to their time period, or even farther back than 4,500 years ago?
It's after it happened.
You think it's after the heralds ended the
Yeah,
effect?
for
Okay.
sure. For
Oh
sure.
yeah, because I feel like when that happened, it was like a first one of that scale. And actually, no, maybe it might be before because they said that Voidbringers are still a thing.
Yeah. I think I don't remember how much it actually states, but it's the prelude is technically the last desolation.
So it's
Because they told everyone that they won against the Voidbringers, but
okay.
they
So
weren't
this is
actually sure if
before.
they had. Yeah.
Interesting.
Damn.
So this is like who knows, like 5,000, 6,000 years in the past when his vision's supposedly taking place.
The Lord Ruler did it better.
I agree.
I mean, he only lasted 1,000 years.
Okay, and how many did they last?
Thousands.
That's not true. I refuse to believe it.
Okay. So Dalinar glances around, noting how ancient the inside of the building looks, and wonders what year it is. He thinks that this is only a vision, but yet it feels so real. As he glances out the glassless window to see if he can spot the creature, it lunges at the window frame and breaks through, falling onto Dalinar. As he tries to get it off of him, the creature scratches his cheek and side. Dalinar calls for light as he punches the creature's too soft head and throws it off of him. As the woman lights a pottery lamp that uses oil instead of stormlight, Dalinar sees an iron fire poker and grabs for it. He falls into smoke stance instead of wind stance, as it's better for imperfect weapons. He then turns to see the creature in the light. The creature had black skin that reflected like tar, no visible eyes, knife-like teeth, and 6 legs. As he and the woman stare at the creature in horror, a second one comes in through the window. Although he knows this is a vision, he puts himself between the creature and the woman and child. So what did you think about these inky black creatures that bleed smoke?
That made me think of those could have just been summoned, like how they makes stone and smoke and all that.
You think they were soul casted, these creatures?
Yeah,
Hmm.
because we see that she can do stuff with the fucking thing to heal people, right? So
when they attacked the person with the shard blade, wasn't there some smoky shit that was happening? Or am I thinking of another
no,
book?
it's because it releases Stormlight or whatever it's called.
So
But go on.
I'm not sure what all you're referring to. So basically, the shard blades form out of mist.
Mm-hmm.
They also the ones of these two radiants that we meet later. There's leak stormlight, as do their bodies and their plate and everything. It all leaks stormlight. And then the midnight essence, which is what we learn the name for them later, they leak smoke, like black smoke, when they're punctured.
The U essence.
Okay, but I thought we akined the blade to Nightblood way back when. I don't remember why we did that.
we referred to how. So I think what you're thinking of is when a shard blade slices through someone, their eyes burn out.
That's probably what I'm thinking.
That
of.
I think,
thought there was,
and they're also,
smoke
I believe,
involved,
had
but-
kind of there was something about black veins or something as well.
Yeah,
I mean, it
because
was
they
black
turn
veins,
that way
yeah.
when the
Yeah.
limb dies, no? Or something like that.
Yeah, it was when a shard blade slices through them, it felt a bit similar to how Nightblood, when someone holds Nightblood, what happens to them.
It just maybe that the whole black smoke with this creature maybe remind me of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, because Nightblood also does leak black smoke.
yep.
So as the creatures attack, so does Dalinar. He slashes across the side of one of them and it bleeds smoke. He knocks down the second one and then stabs the first one in the face, and he feels the thrill fill him, making him feel alive. He knocks over the table onto one of the creatures and stabs the fire poker into the mouth of the other, causing it to hiss in pain. Dalinar then kicks off a leg from the table and uses it in his other hand to keep away one of the creatures while he stabs at the other with the poker, causing it to bleed more smoke. So Dalinar then hears screams from outside and thinks that these two are not the only creatures around. He hurries to continue attacking, eventually stabbing one of them in the chest and causing a huge burst of smoke to come out and the creature to deflate like a wineskin. However, his arm gets clawed in the process, and then the still alive creature bites onto his arm, and Dalinar has to kick it off of him, causing a spray of blood as the teeth tear his skin. The thrill keeps Dalinar focused, and he barely notices the pain. As the creature lunges at him, he trips it with the poker before stabbing it in the back and causing smoke to burst from the creature. So what did you think overall of Dalinar's fight with these Midnight Essence?
I mean, to be fair, I assumed it was nowhere the creatures the creature that he fought last time.
Oh, the hasn't been?
Yeah,
Hasn't
sounds
been.
like he's holding his ground, especially when he doesn't have his armor and all that shit, you know?
Yeah, he doesn't have any of his shit, you know.
I mean, he was apparently an extremely amazing fighter when he was younger.
Even
they
without,
mentioned
yeah, even without the shard blade and
Blackthorn.
shit.
And he's single now.
Interesting.
He's also I think
That's
mid-50s.
okay.
Okay,
Hey,
okay,
Silver
that's not
Fox.
So as the fight ends, the woman says that by the 3 gods that Heb fought like one of the Knights Radiant. As Dalinar tries to bandage his wounds, he asks if there's a cellar nearby or a cave, but the woman says no and that she doesn't understand how someone can make a hole in the stone. Instead, Dalinar asks her to lead him to a river to get rid of their scent and to bring the girl and the lantern, which the woman seems upset that Dalinar won't call their daughter by her name, which is Seelie, or her by her name, Taffa. Dalinar just replies that he hit his head and he needs to help finding the way to the river.
So, well, that's a red flag.
No, it's just his wife Taffy.
Also, what do you think
I
about
meant,
her?
for her. That should have been like the first red flag. Why won't you call me
Right.
by name?
No, but to be fair, it's not like she could do anything because she tried.
Yeah.
He's like, we should go over here, get you cheated. And he's like, no, fuck off, woman.
I don't know you.
Also, what do you think about her referring to the three gods? Because, like, in their present day, like, everything's like the 10 heralds, the one almighty, the, like... Whereas
Well, then
she's
maybe
between
there
three
are three
gods.
shards on this planet. Who knows?
You think maybe she's got a more knowing religion about what
mean,
the actual gods are here?
don't they have like a lot more knowledge in general about like the
What's happening?
Cosmere and its own thing? Like that there are other shards, or was that only those people that came there randomly?
It was, so those were the world hoppers, remember? They're from other places, yeah.
Well, I thought they were also. I thought this like the planet itself had a lot more knowledge than any other planet we've.
It doesn't seem like it so far. It was just those three guys, yeah.
Gotcha.
Didn't they mention? Okay, that was probably later.
So Dalinar also asks if creatures like these are common, but she replies that maybe they were during desolations, but not in her lifetime. Suddenly they are surrounded by the black creatures, and Dalinar hurries them over to a rock formation, so he has something to put his back to. As he tries to think of something to do, he thinks about how the woman had mentioned the desolations, which were from the Shadow Days, before the Voidbringers had been defeated. He wonders if these creatures are Voidbringers. So what do you think about how little Dalinar seems to know about the desolations and the Shadow Days, considering like he's supposed to be like a bit more knowledgeable because he's like a Light Eyes and like everything. But he seems to know very little about the desolations.
I mean, that doesn't shock me at all because they're racist and they,
Wait, what?
They believe that light eyes are somehow better than dark eyes. It doesn't shock me that it's untrue.
What was the question?
The question was, what do you think about how little Dalinar seems to know about the desolations and the Shadow Days?
Oh, well, like, it's not happening anymore, right? So.
Yeah, but you should still learn about history.
You think you still know about, especially since it's kind of like partially related into their religion, like this history stuff. You think he'd know a little bit more?
It happened so long ago, like
4,500 years. That's not that much, right?
girl.
No, totally. I mean, it's a drop in the bucket for a mortal.
I don't remember what happened 45,000 years ago.
Okay. Seeing as we really haven't gotten to that point.
I don't remember what happened whenever this thing happened. By thing, I mean this world.
So the creatures begin to lunge towards Dalinar, and he somehow finds the strength to keep them away for a moment by waving the poker around. However, they soon begin to overwhelm Dalinar and Taffa, although Dalinar does his best to protect Seelie. As he thinks they are about to die, a brilliant blue light falls from the sky. As it hits the ground, the rock cracks and the beast frees in place. He soon sees that the blue light is actually a man in glowing blue shardplate, holding a shardblade, and trails of stormlight coming from his body. As Dalinar watches the man easily fight off the creatures, a female shardbearer kneels next to him and Taffa, holding a topaz entwined with a heliodor that was held in a metal framework. Her tan eyes almost seem to glow as she touches Dalinar, then Taffa, and causes their wounds to almost instantly heal. Taffa blesses
cool as shit.
Yeah.
She's a bloodbender.
Taffa blesses the Almighty for the woman coming, and Dalinar is shocked to see that the woman has a shard blade. So what do you think about these Knights Radiant coming to help?
Meh, they weren't needed.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing anyway. Like they gave a woman a shard blade.
Oh shit! The sexism coming out of darkness right now.
I mean, really, women should be writing and reading. They shouldn't be holding shard blades, right?
Right.
Because we don't already have one of those women.
Now, if any woman with a shard blade wants to hit me up, Anyway.
I mean, hey, all you gotta do, Darkness, is fight them and win.
Yeah, you just gotta win it from them.
Yeah,
I'm a Lord Ruler, though.
Oh yeah.
And fighting them should be easy to take their blade.
Exactly. I mean, it's not like Rock has done it. Try to do it like, or his group has not tried to do it for like forever now, and have yet to succeed.
That's crazy. They would never. Rock is not just a rock; he's a boulder.
The boulder.
Not this again. It's like every fucking.
Every time you say it. Every time you say the boulder. The boulder.
Seeing the two fighting the army of creatures, Dalinar gets up to join them since his wounds are now healed. Taffa calls out for him not to fight, but he can't bring himself to just watch them. He begins to fight, and the two fall into a triangular formation with him. They eventually kill the whole group of creatures, and Dalinar can see other shardbearers falling from the sky into the village nearby. As the fight ends, Dalinar knows that the symbol on the man's shard plate is that of the Lost Radiants, who were at this point in time called the Knights Radiant. So what do you think about Dalinar helping the Radiants fight instead of staying with the woman and child?
What do I think?
Sorry, I had to sneeze.
Yeah, wait. What do I think about?
What do you think about
What now?
Dalinar deciding to go in and help the Radiants fight the Midnight Essence instead of just like leaving them to do it?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that shows how brave this man is.
Oh, that was the longest sneeze of my life.
Besides that, it's not his body anyway. So what does he care?
Right.
If you die in a dream, you die in real life.
That's been
He-
disproven
honestly-
quite a few times.
Honestly, he probably would, considering that it's not any normal dream.
Nah, he'll be fine.
Also, I just
Traumatized.
remembered the one thing I feared where like near the beginning where he's like, "Oh, this monster is squishy" or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I was like, "What if he's like kicking someone in like real life?" There, and
Oh
like,
my god.
what if he's like fighting and killing all his fucking people right now?
He's like kicking like one of the random people in the face.
Right. This
They're
is
trying
one
to
of my
hold him
like
down.
this is one of my most like feared like things when it comes to visions, dreams, and stuff in like movies and books. I'm like, what are you doing in real life? Like, are
They're
you
gonna
doing
come
this?
back and they're gonna have murdered their fucking fellow friends and shit.
Right. At that point, fuck the visions. Like,
I mean,
you might as well have like.
somebody put him under a genjutsu, you know.
So the male Shardbearer then asks Dalinar who trained him with a sword, but Taffa replies that Heb has never been trained, although the Shardbearer doesn't seem to believe this. Dalinar doesn't respond to him, and the man just tells Dalinar to come to Urithiru. I can say it in my head.
Urethra?
Urithiru.
Urethra. Yeah, it's
No, it's
urethra.
Urithiru, and that Dalinar could train to be one of them. He also mentions that a desolation is coming. The male Shardbearer then leaves them, and Dalinar asks the female Shardbearer what year it is, to which she replies that it's the 8th epoch, year 337. Although Dalinar doesn't understand what 8th epoch means. He also asks what country they are in, to which she replies that they are in Natanatan, and Dalinar thinks that this is a kingdom that fell centuries ago, was where the Shattered Plains now are.
Who?
I thought you
I
did.
mean, I have a theory. But I feel like so he can't remember his own wife's name. What if this is a product of the fact that he has all of these other lives that he's living through these visions?
Oh, you think like somehow like seeing all these other lives is like erasing like other memories that he has?
Either that or somebody else also had the same thing and took over his body at one point, and then he forgot a lot of things that he should
That's very
remember.
dangerous. They shouldn't do that.
Well, I mean, it made me think about the fact that so when like they start asking this dude about, oh, where did you learn how to fight, and it's spoken up to about the fact that he doesn't actually know how to fight, yet he showed this prowess. Like it made me think about like, what if he literally did this? Like, what if because time is a big ball of wibbly wobbly timey-wimey shit.
Yeah.
So what if he actually had gone into this person's body, and even back then, or future or whatever, he went into this person's body and did this. No clue. Like nobody would have known. Oh man, how'd you just all of a sudden do this? It's kind of like when people get into accidents and like there's like the weird thing of them knowing like a different language and they never knew that language before and all of that. Yeah, like
superpowers.
It's kind of but like that's what made me think of like, what if he's actually jumping into these people's bodies for a moment and
it's magic.
Helps them through whatever I kind of want to know what his other visions he did in his other visions.
Right.
Like I'm wondering if he jumps into people in need, who need his skills to survive.
Honestly, I feel like it's more like whatever this person wants him to see, because like it's gonna teach him a lesson as to how he's gonna roll.
Maybe.
Do you think it's more
like the malicious intent?
He needs the visions, whereas Mythic thinks more like these people from the visions need him.
I think that I still think the person that comes to him later has a malicious intent, but still.
I feel like that's the only like good shard here. I feel like that's a shard.
You think the person talking through Taffa later is a shard?
I agree, but I still don't believe that they have good intent.
Do you think they're Ray's then the one talking to him, Mythic?
Yes.
So you think it's a ruin situation?
Yeah.
I think it's a what's his name situation.
Preservation.
Yeah. Am I getting sick? I hope not.
Yes, you are, Darkness. Sick and tired of this podcast.
I guess I am. You're right. Oh my god.
Um, So Dalinar continues to process the new information as the woman mentions that the Knights Radiant fight for no specific king all across Roshar, but that they are centered in Urithru, and that they mainly reside in Alethala, which is what Alethkar used to be called. She also states that Alethala fights so that other countries may have peace. She also says that these creatures are not Voidbringers, but something called Midnight Essence. Suddenly there are screams, and the female Shardbearer runs off.
I wonder why she likes this book so much, Darkness.
Saying to call for her if any more essence shows up. So what do you think about the fact that Alethala or Alethkar was originally founded to be the warring nation so that others could have peace, and now nowadays they just become more of warmongers instead of the ones who fight because they have to?
It's a product of your own volition. So for generations and generations, you continue to fight a war. You become known as the warring people, and then it slowly integrates into that society, until they become basically seen in ill intent.
Also, I don't know if you guys have Mythic probably definitely won because he's not reading it, but the country, so the names of these places, Alethala, Natanatan, Urithru, they're all I forget the word for it. Words that are the same forwards and backwards.
Wait, say it again. Sorry.
They're the words that are the same forwards and backwards. I forget the name.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of anything.
I feel like you're pointing that a lot, pointing that out a lot.
Palindrome. They're palindromes.
That's it. A palindrome.
Yeah. So yeah, Alethala, Natantan, Urithru, they're all palindromes.
But it's kind of cool for Brandon to have done. To be honest.
The feeling of it's not a quirk is getting to me.
And Alethala doesn't really seem like a palindrome as much, but I believe the way their language works is kind of similar to some Asian languages where the TH noise and SH noises and stuff. They're one. They'd be one character in their language instead of two letters.
What you're saying is it's only a palindrome in their language?
Yeah, it's mostly a palindrome in our language, but if they have that TH noise, they sometimes aren't.
Interesting.
Also, did you just like Dalinar did you guys think the Midnight Essence were actually Voidbringers, or did you not have that thought at all?
No.
I mean, originally that's what I thought, but
because Dalinar kind of brings it up at one point, being holy shit, are these Voidbringers? And then later on, at this point, she's like, no, they're not Voidbringers, dude. These are just Midnight Essence. They're not Voidbringers. That's silly.
Does she know? Does she actually know what those are then?
Yeah, the one woman says that she knows that these are Midnight Essence, and she seems to know what Voidbringers are.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, does she even know what Voidbringers are?
Yeah, she does seem to know what they are. Something? And Dalinar does know that in the past, the Lothrians apparently fought the Voidbringers along with the Heralds. So suddenly Taffa begins speaking in a deep male voice, the voice that spoke to him in every vision. The voice states that they used to be one once, the Orders, men. Dalinar begs for answers as he thinks that the voice has always seemed somehow familiar to him, although he wasn't sure why or how. The voice tells him that he must unite them, and Dalinar continues to ask for more specific responses, specifically asking if he should trust Sadeas. The voice replies that yes, he should not let strife consume him, and act with honor. The vision then begins to fade, and Dalinar is back in the stables, being held down by a group of soldiers.
Held down, right, Darkness? Think he was attacking people?
Dalinar tells the men that he has regained his wits, and Renarin makes some excuses to try to explain his father's behavior. Dalinar moves away.
He hasn't regained his wits because Wit's not here.
I know, right? He'll show up later.
I know. That's my favorite. That was my favorite part of this chapters when Wit shows up.
Dalinar moves away from the others to sit by himself and think. He thinks about how he was told to trust Sadeas, and he doesn't know how he'll explain that to Adolin. He had to continue on and find a way to get the Hybrances to work together. So what do you think of Dalinar's conversation with this voice that spoke through Taffa?
I thought it was the good side of this world.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Why do you think it wants him to unite them?
So that they can fight against what's coming up?
What do you think's coming up?
I feel like the opposite side is definitely learning how to make those creatures and stuff. But
what about you, Mythic? What do you think about the conversation between Dalinar and that voice?
Like I said, I feel like maybe it's just because I have a bias on the fact that Ruin did it. I feel like they have some kind of malicious intent.
So what do you think? What do you think's bad then about this voice wanting Dalinar to unite them?
Well, if you unite them to, and you put I'm trying to think of how to put it together. Maybe if he unites them, it'll be they gain their full power and they can then do, dubious things or something.
You think maybe he thinks it's this voice thinks it's is trying to get him to like kill the Parshendi or something, and then maybe that's a bad
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, I definitely think it's a bad thing, but I really think it's a terrible thing that they're trying to kill people, especially after Rock's conversation.
Also, so I feel like I know the answer to this, considering how you guys are talking about you think a shard's involved here. But do you think the Downers' visions are like real, like things, or
Yes.
do you think just like strange hallucinations?
No, I definitely think they're coming from like the past or something. He's jumping into people's lives.
He's old. He's getting senile.
I mean, they're definitely if they're not visions of the future like that one Ardent was concerned about. So it's potentially not of the Voidbringers.
Of the Voidbringers.
It's of the past, so maybe it's of the opposite of the Voidbringers. It's of the Heralds.
It's of the Heralds. Hark the Heralds.
Darkness, do you agree that these are like real things that he's being shown and not just like random hallucinations or dreams?
Yeah.
And then we move to chapter 20, which is called Scarlet, which is a very short chapter of 7 years ago, the Kaladin's flashback chapters. So we move to young Kaladin's point of view as he tries to help a little girl who had fallen. Bright Lord Wistio had died 2 months ago, and they still did not have a new city lord. Kaladin notes that the girl's leg is broken and the bone is sticking out of her skin. The girl's father shouts angrily at Kaladin, asking what he's doing with his daughter. The other men hold him back as they know Kaladin is the girl's best hope while they wait for Kaladin's father. Kaladin asks for a shirt and a fire, holding the bleeding artery closed as he held the shirt to the wound. Someone comes over with a candle and another man heats a knife, which Kaladin takes and uses to seal the wound. He feels proud as the leg wound stops bleeding, but then he notices that her head wound also stopped bleeding and she wasn't breathing. The father, Harl, wails and pushes Kaladin out of the way as he holds the body of his daughter. So did you think that Kaladin was going to be able to save this girl?
No. I had it. I saw it coming.
Yeah, I did too, to be honest.
So we skip to an hour later with Kaladin crying on the steps of the surgery room. Liren approaches him and tells him he did well, but Kaladin replies that he failed. Liren insists that Kaladin did well to not freeze. However, Kaladin replies that he doesn't want to be a surgeon because he's terrible at it. Liren replies that Kaladin needs to learn when to care and when to let go. Kaladin isn't sure if this is a good thing as he continues to hear Harl wailing in the distance. So what did you think of Kaladin's first experience of losing someone?
Traumatizing. No wonder he doesn't want to lose anybody or become a surgeon.
What do you think, Darkness?
Did his father not tell him that that would happen?
I mean, he did, but
He did. It's just Kaladin struggles with it a lot. He doesn't.
I mean,
like
I
having people
guess
die
because he's
on
one of
him. He's sensitive. He's emotional.
he's one of those characters.
so wait, so what you're saying is he's a snowflake. Got it.
Oh, okay.
Fucking millennial snowflakes. As I say that, even though I am a millennial.
Darkness is the only non-millennial here. Oh,
I
cringe.
know, right? So cringe. What is Darkness? Gen Z?
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
zoomer.
Don't call us that. That's so fucking cringe.
You're cringe.
Okay.
I mean, you are a zoomer.
Don't fucking say that. Oh my god.
So we move to chapter 21, which is called Why Men Lie. So this is where we get that map of the Alethi war camps that I showed you, Mythic. Yeah, which they mention is perhaps an idealized representation of how the war camps look. And then we get a very brief epigraph that says, one need only look at the aftermath of his brief visit to Cell to see proof of what I say. So what was your first thought when you heard that Raze had been to Cell?
What's up?
Cell is the Lantris planet again.
Right. Does that planet still have a shard?
No, that has the two shattered shards.
Oh, those are the ones they were talking about
Mhm.
in the next one.
Yeah, they talk about it some more in the next one.
Interesting. So they got fucked up. They got jumped.
Yeah.
They got jumped.
Yeah, I believe we learn about in Arcanum Unbounded that Odium killed the two shards on Cell,
So it's Odium.
along with Autonomy from Threnody. So yeah,
Two
there's a lot of
evil
hints
shards.
that
Got
if you know that this might be Odium, this erase.
That's crazy. Who would have thought of that? That's insane.
Who would have thought that anger was the worst part?
Not just anger, hatred. Hatred with a passion.
Whatever. Yeah. Same idea, different concept.
We then move to present present Kaladin's POV, as every inch of his body aches. He wants to just lay in bed until Gaz drags him out by his ankles, but he knows he needs to get up if he wants to keep trying to save the bridgemen. As he slowly gets out of bed, he notes that the other bridgemen are awake and watching him, waiting to see if he'll get out of bed. His first task is to go check on the 3 wounded bridgemen, starting with Leighton, who he notes will eventually need antiseptic. Next he checks on Hobber, who thanks Kaladin repeatedly for saving him, and Kaladin tells him he'll need to stay off his leg for a few weeks. What do you think about the bridgemen waiting for Kaladin to get up?
They're finally showing a slight sliver of respect.
I think that's more like
For once.
curiosity at this point.
No, respect.
Yeah.
He then checks on David, who is staring forward with unfocused eyes. Kaladin snaps his fingers, causing David to be startled, and then follow Kaladin's fingers with his eyes. Kaladin states that he's battle shocked, and it should wear off in time, although he thinks that it's a possibility that it won't wear off. So do you think any of these three men will live and fully recover?
Yes, I think they all three will.
You think all three will? Do you
None
agree,
of them are
Darkness? Do
going
you
to
think
die
all
in their
three will?
sleep or anything.
Now you're making me afraid of sabotage. Why do you do this to me?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just have that feeling because of the way the one dude talked about
No,
them.
they'll be fine.
They're all gonna be fine?
As long as that
Yeah.
is your actual belief.
And they're gonna become part of his new
Group.
Entourage.
Mhm.
Entourage. I like entourage way more than harem.
No, what do you mean?
Kaladin goes out of the barracks and begins stretching and checking his own wound. He curses the apothecary, but then thinks that he shouldn't do that. He should be cursing Sadius, who doesn't let slaves and lesser servants get supplies from the surgeon's hall. Once he's done stretching, he notices the bridgeman watching him, and he goes to get the plank he had carried the day before, and he begins walking and jogging with it, as running is too difficult with his aches and pains. As he walks with the plank, he notices men from the other bridges glaring at him with hostility, and he wonders if they worry that he'll give their bridge leaders ideas about working them harder. He also notes that none of his bridgemen join in his morning activity, even though he had hoped some would. Syl then flies over to him and tells Kaladin that some of the bridgemen think he's gone mad with battle shock, and Kaladin says that they might be right. So what do you think about the other bridgemen glaring at Kaladin and his bridgemen just watching him but not joining in?
They're fucking jealous.
Yeah, they want to join this little
They see how
group.
they see how little he loses and is like, ooh, we must they didn't want to be in Bridge 4 and now they want to. So they're jealous.
Obviously, they want a marriage contract.
Syl then asks what madness is, and Kaladin replies that it's when men don't think right, when they don't think like others. After that, Syl asks about men lying, and Kaladin replies that all men lie, although Syl says that the men say that the king's uncle, Dalinar Kholin, never lies. Kaladin, however, states that Dalinar is a light eye, so he definitely lies. Syl starts to speak and then trails off for a moment before Kaladin prompts her to continue, and she states that she's heard of times when there were no lies. Kaladin replies that there are stories about the heraldic epochs when men had honor, that everyone always looks on the past as being better, and that most times are neither good nor bad. He says that power corrupts, and you just need to stay away from the light eyes with power. So what do you think about Syl's continuous mentions of Dalinar being a good person?
It's almost like they know somehow. They have personal knowledge.
Do you think she knows, or do you think she's just hopeful because she hears a lot about him?
I feel like she's got some kind of inside knowledge somehow. Maybe she stalks him.
What do you mean? It's because clearly this book's whole purpose is to gather them, like every single main character, and just start another little crew.
Like
Unite them?
every other, like every book, at all.
You gotta unite them.
Right.
Yeah, it's literally every single book that we've read is like these people who don't know each other or
Neat.
have no connection with each other all of a sudden have to find each other and save the world in some way, shape, or form.
So Kaladin finishes his exercising and returns the plank of wood to the carpenters. As he makes his way back to the bridgeman, he notes to Syl that talking to her probably doesn't help the men think of him as less mad. Syl just replies that she'll try to be less interesting. However, as he's walking, Gaz hurries over to him and tells him that Bright Lord Lamoral heard that he had brought back wounded, and that Sadius had said not to give any bridgeman that couldn't work pay or food. Kaladin curses Sadius, causing Gaz to pale and glance around to make sure no one else overheard them. Gaz then tells Kaladin not to try to get extra food at the mess hall before running off. So what do you think about the fact that the bridgemen that are injured now get no pay or food?
Like I said, malicious intent.
Honestly,
When they start seeing that they're not as bad off with that decree, they're gonna start getting more drastic.
yeah, they're gonna get pissed.
They're gonna get more drastic, and then they're gonna murder one of them in their sleep, and make it seem like they died of their own injuries.
Right, it's what I would do.
Man, the darkness is exactly what you would do.
So Kaladin thinks that he could try to split his food with the injured bridgeman, but splitting his meals 4 ways would leave him too weak to work and the others too weak to heal. He goes over to the other bridgemen and lets them know about the food issue and asks the men to pool their food and spheres to help the men, but Moesh and the others just laugh at him. Kaladin asks what will happen when Moesh is the one injured, but Moesh just replies that he'll die quickly out on the plateaus instead of slowly here in the barracks. Kaladin turns away, feeling defeated, and almost runs into Rock. Rock states that he spent all his spheres already, but he's willing to give food to Hobber, who is the one who is most likely to recover. He also states that he would have died if Kaladin hadn't taken his place at the front of the bridge, as he states that there is something special about Kaladin, as arrows had hit all around him, but did not hit him directly. Kaladin replies that it's luck, but Rock says that there is no such thing, and then states that he can see Syl, who he calls
that's my favorite part.
Mafaliki, and he bows and makes a strange gesture to her. What do you think about Rock being able to see Syl?
He's a rock.
He's a rock and wind, you know?
He's an elemental.
Possibly.
So Kaladin is shocked that Rock can see Syl, and he replies that he is a Laiku, and calls Kaladin an Airsync Lowlander when he doesn't understand the word.
My favorite thing. He keeps saying that.
I love the Airsync Lowlander thing. It's
You're
great.
airsick. I'm like, what do you mean airsick?
So the funny thing is, because this isn't like, it doesn't really matter to the storyline, but so because of the size of Roshar and everything, there actually is extra oxygen in the atmosphere on Roshar. So when you are in the lower lands, you technically do have way more oxygen than we do here on Earth. So technically, he could be kind of right.
He's airsick. Yeah.
Like in the Hornier Peaks, they probably have more of a similar oxygen to what we do here on Earth.
I mean, he kind of alludes to that, anyways.
Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
When he says
an air
there's
junkie.
less air. No, he says there's like less. He's like less air or something in where he lives.
He's like, come up to the peaks where I am. You'll understand what I mean by Airsync Lowlander now.
And like I said, it makes sense.
Yeah, where was
I just
I?
found it hilarious.
He then states again that Kaladin is special and that yesterday was one of the worst runs of the year, but their bridge lost the least amount of men when usually Bridge 4 loses the most. Kaladin tries again to say it was luck, but Rock cuts him off by calling him an Airsync Lowlander once more. So, do you agree with Rock that Kaladin is somehow special?
Yes, 100%. I don't know if it's Syl or if it's just in general he's special, but I 100% think he is in some way, shape, or form special.
What do you think, Darkness?
He's a chosen one.
Suddenly, Kaladin comes up with an idea and has Rock follow him over to Gaz, who is speaking to the bridge leader of Bridge 3. The bridge leader glares at him as Kaladin asks who is doing rock gathering duty today, which is apparently Bridge 3, but they were insisting they had lost too many men to do the task. Kaladin suggests that his bridge will do the stone gathering instead. They then leave Gaz, and Kaladin tells Rock that they'll need one more person to help. Kaladin's eyes land on Teft, who had helped Rock carry Leighton the day before. He goes up to the man who is eating his breakfast alone, and Teft immediately states that he doesn't get enough food to share it with anyone. However, Kaladin asks for the man's loyalty. Teft replies that he always betrays his loyalties and not to trust him. Kaladin also tells Teft that death isn't easier, as he stared into that dark chasm and changed it. Teft eventually agrees to work with Kaladin, and Rock and the two bridgemen introduce themselves to each other. So what do you think about Kaladin recruiting Rock and Teft to be his little allies here with his plan?
I feel like that's going to be a really good party.
Right. They got Rock and Tuft.
Yeah. Some tough rock.
Tough Rock.
So Teft then asks what sort of name Rock is, to which Rock replies that at least it has meaning, that it isn't his actual name, as his actual name is too hard for most people to pronounce.
Oh my god, can you please say his name?
His real name is Numuhumu Makiaki Aya Lunamore. Kaladin then states that while stone gathering, they need to collect reeds that grow in small patches outside of the camp.
Oh, I love it.
Say it again?
Numuhumu Makiaki Aya Lunamore.
You said it wrong.
I didn't. It's
Did you?
Numuhumu Makiaki Aya Lunamore.
I gotta go listen to it again.
It's not Numuhumu.
It is Numuhumu.
No, it's not.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it is. It's Numuhumi.
No, it's Numuhuku.
Bite.
Is it Numuhuku? I was sure I wrote it down properly.
No, I was saying it like 50 times last night.
Did I write it down wrong?
It's Numuhuku.
I was sure it's Numuhumu. Did I seriously fucking write this name down wrong? It is Numuhuku! God damn it, I wrote it down wrong.
Wow.
It's Numuhuku Makiaki Ayalunamore. I apologize.
Yeah, I was saying it like 50 times last night.
Jesus. I only heard it once, so.
I copied it down wrong. That was the problem.
I mean, that's not a shocker.
Right. It's not like your notes are very reliable after all.
I just made a simple typo. It was one letter in his fucking 20-letter name, okay?
I know somebody who has a name that long.
Damn.
I do too, actually.
That must be a pain in the ass on legal documents.
It is, I'm sure. Hell.
They shortened it down to like 3 letters. So
ROC, rock.
So then we move on to
no,
chapter...
it's ROK because they want to be cool.
Gotcha. I feel like that'd be roke.
So chapter 22, Eyes, Hands, or Spheres. So the epigraph is, in case you have turned a blind eye to that disaster, know that Aona and Sky are both dead, and that which they held has been splintered, presumably to prevent anyone from rising up to challenge Raze. So just so you know, so obviously Aona and Sky are the names of the 2 shards Devotion, Dominion. I looked it up, and Aeona is specifically devotion, and Sky is Dominion. In case you were wondering.
You looked it up so that you could tell us, but do we not find it out?
Aeona's where like the Aeons come from, right?
Yeah, and Sky is where Skays come from.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, weird.
So Sky is technically the more evil of the, at least from the one Elantris book.
There always.
And whoever destroyed them did not give a fuck.
Yeah.
There always seems to be, one
Another
good
half.
and evil.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't really mean that Sky's power was evil. It was more just the way they used it and like the people who were using her.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't feel like the power would
Nature,
connect if it didn't connect with the
The
intent of the power and how it's meant
Mhm.
to be used.
I mean, hers was bone magic, or at least part of it.
Interesting.
Bone magic.
So what do you think about the fact that it seems...
That's those one guys, right? The people who have like extremely strong bones and shit. That's why they're bone magic.
They did like the weird rituals where they like carved into people's bones and then they turned into the strong guys. But yeah, so what do you think about the fact that it seems Reyes is related to the death of Devotion and Dominion's vessels, as well as the splintering of their power?
Well, we know who it is, so...
So we switch to Dalnor's point of view 2 days after the high storm. As he walks with his sons to the king's feasting basin, he hopes that the storm wardens are right that the weather will turn to summer after a few weeks of spring and not winter. Adolin tells Dalinar that he's been to 3 other leather workers and none are definitely sure if the strap was cut, unless there's some wear and tear beforehand that interferes with what they can tell about the break of the strap. Dalinar replies that he'll let Elhokar know and ask if he wants him to follow up on any other avenues. Adolin hesitantly brings up the last high storm, but Dalinar replies that it might be better, as some soldiers saw, as some of the rumors going around were worse than the truth. Dalinar notes that the banquet always happens outside of the foot.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking, and I started laughing. What is Odium's or whatever? What is his thing?
What do you mean?
You know how ATM is ruin and the other one is preservation. Like this guy is what? Like is it hate? It's hate, right?
You mean like their
Hatred?
how his metal would?
No, like his theme.
Yeah, his theme is like passionate hatred or something like that.
Okay, so what if so you know how we're talking about how there's like the other halves or whatever, like an equivalent? What if the other one is passionate loving? And every planet they go to is just a global like orgy.
Oh god. So Dalinar notes that the banquet always happens outside the foot of Elhokar's palace, and notes that it is a circular depression in the stone that has been filled with water to make a shallow lake. Stone dining platforms rose out of it with bridges connecting them. Flowers and small hand-sized boats with gemstones float through the water. What do you think of the little feasting area?
Makes me hungry.
I feel like it looks really pretty in my mind.
No. It's
Your
the
mind's
ugliest.
Is it really pretty in your mind's eye?
Yes.
Your mind palace?
Dalinar tells his sons that they can have 1 cup of blue and that they have to stick to orange after that for the rest of the night. Adolin tries to complain, but Dalinar sticks to the codes, and Adolin reluctantly agrees and leaves to the first dining platform with Renarin, where most of the younger Light Eyes were. Dalinar notes that the 2 outer platforms were separated by gender, but the 3 inner platforms had the genders mingling together. He also smells pork and chicken being cooked, thinking that having those rare flying Shin animals were rare. As Dalinar moves towards the king's platform, he notes that most of the Light Eyes are drinking violet, which is the most flavorful and intoxicating color of wine. He also notes that the people are wearing frilly silk clothing, unlike the normal military uniforms like Dalinar wears. On the king's platform, men and women sat at tables, although not at the same table. He also sees Wit sitting on a stool and notes that he's the only other person wearing a black military uniform and wearing a silver side sword. Dalinar finds this ironic. So what do you think about Wit?
Best character ever.
What do you think about Wit being the only other person in a military uniform at this party?
Because he's super good at being regal. And a regal pain in people's ass. That's why I like him so much.
I would have definitely earned you a bit of witness.
I
Would you think about
feel like me and Wit would get along real well, to be honest. Because we'd be just back and forth with each other.
What do you think about Wit being the only other person in a military uniform?
I don't really care. I don't like him.
Oh,
you're a liar.
Yeah, right? I feel like he's saying that so that Wit doesn't die.
No, I generally just don't like him. I literally said it last time.
Really? I love Wit. What's the best?
Does he die? Cause
No.
I hope so.
Wow.
Well, then you need to say you like him so that he'll die.
I fucking love him.
There you go.
So as Dalinar gets closer to Wit, he hears him insulting the different Light Eyes as they enter the king's platform, insulting the looks of some and the intelligence of others. However, he just gives a nod to Dalinar instead of insulting him. Dalinar asks Wit if he has to do this, and Wit makes a joke of the statement, and also jokes about showing Dalinar his spheres, before apologizing as he says these people bring out the basest humor in him. Dalinar tells Wit to take care of himself, but Wit replies that Dalinar is the one who needs to take care of himself. Wit then mentions that there are rumors circling of Dalinar wanting to abandon the Vengeance Pact. Dalinar thanks Wit for the warning and turns to move away as he listens to Wit continue to insult people, although when he hears that Lady Navani is here, it causes him to stop. Elkar's mother asks if no one has assassinated Wit yet, causing Wit to laugh. They go back and forth a bit as Dalinar watches Navani.
Doesn't he say like somebody like he welcomes him to try or some shit?
Yeah, and he says he has a lot of ass sass as well.
Yeah. God, I love Wit so much. She's so fucking funny.
They go back and forth a bit as Dalinar watches Navani, thinking that she wasn't meant to be here. He thinks that she is incredibly beautiful, but then stops himself as she's his brother's widow and she is to be treated as his sister. So what do you think about Wit not insulting Dalinar and instead warning him about the rumors that are circulating?
He has some kind of respect for him, for sure.
That's about the only like useful thing he's ever done.
Dalinar hurries to sit at Elkar's table to avoid Navani, a plate of food quickly being placed before him. Dalinar knows that there are only a few people at the king's table: Sadeas, whom the king was speaking to, and Royan, whom Dalinar had plans to speak to in a few days. He glances around at the people here, noting some young light-eyed men having a friendly duel and some young light-eyed women had easels up that they were painting on. He then glances at Navani, who had gathered several women at her table and was showing them a fabrial. However, when she meets his eyes, he quickly looks back to his food. So what do you think about Dalinar avoiding Navani?
She's a pretty cool person, so...
You like Navani?
Yeah.
Who's Navani again?
She's Elhokar and Yasna's mom.
Yeah, I don't know. It still didn't help me, but okay.
She's the woman that Dalinar is trying to avoid speaking to.
Yeah, I get that part, but like, she was forgettable. I don't remember her. So
he's the brother who, like, his brother's
wife. Yeah.
Wife. He's widow now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Got it. Still forgettable, but got it.
I mean, we don't get too much of her here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Aelin then comes over to Dalinar, telling him of the rumors that are going
Hopefully
around.
Dalinar gets a little more of her later.
Oh no, he does. He is like, oh, she's so pretty. This
well,
and
apparently
that.
they had kind of a thing before she got with his brother.
Interesting.
Disgusting.
But yeah, so Aelin comes over to Dalinar, telling him of the rumors that are going around, as Wit had said they were. Dalinar tells Adolin to leave it alone and that they can discuss it later, and he will listen to Adolin's concerns. He then tells Adolin that he has switched tactics with Elhokar, stating that he wants to finally win the war and stop squabbling over gem hearts. Adolin agrees with his idea as Dalinar continues on about how he'll have to get the High Princes to work together first so they can all charge the Proshendi. Adolin then asks Dalinar to consider dueling men who are spreading the rumors, but Dalinar just wants to put out a refutation instead. He also says Adolin cannot duel in his place.
Just fight everybody. Solves all problems.
Yep.
I'm telling you, like...
He also says Adolin cannot duel in his place as it is against the codes. Adolin states that somehow the codes, the book, and the visions are all combined together within Dalinar. Adolin then notices Navani coming towards them, and Dalinar realizes that he had finished his food without realizing, giving him no way to avoid her. What do you think about Adolin's concerns about Dalinar speaking of ending the Vengeance Pact?
I feel like it's a good thing on his part to do so, because it's called the Vengeance Pact. There can be not going to be anything good coming out of that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Adolin hugs his aunt, and Navani asks about his courtships, to which Dalinar replies that he changes them frequently. However, Navani replies that Adolin should be able to experience a variety while young before he gets old and life becomes boring. Adolin then says he's going to tell Renarin that she is here and leaves Dalinar and Navani alone together. Dalinar finds that he gets nervous around Navani as she is a predator. Navani seems to find this amusing and has a serving girl place a stool near the table, although not directly at it, as that would not be allowed. She insists that Dalinar sits down as well. Navani states that she has 3 reasons for returning to the Shattered Plains. She notes that the Vedans had created half-shards, which are shields that can block a shard blade. Her second reason was to protect her son, as she felt like there wasn't much use for her in Alethkar, that all the main players were here on the Shattered Plains. She also says that her son's rule is weak, which upsets Dalinar, but she says she does not say this due to a lack of loyalty but for her son, but so that she knows how to protect him. Navani does not tell Dalinar her third reason, instead saying that they need to speak together in private. Dalinar also notices how beautiful Navani is, and thinks that before he had been with his wife, Navani had flirted with both him and Gavilar before choosing his brother.
How do you remember that?
He apparently remembers things from before his wife, just not about his wife. So what do you think about the fact that Dalinar had been interested in Navani in the past?
Doesn't shock me. Apparently, she's beautiful.
Man whores run in their blood.
Yep, sure.
So Dalinar tries to make excuses not to meet in private, but Navani insists on meeting in 1 week's time. Once she had settled in and says that they can meet in a public place if it makes him more comfortable. Suddenly Elhokar stands up and begins speaking to the people, mentioning what happened to his saddle and that he's decided to appoint Sadeas High Prince of Information. Navani doesn't understand at first what is happening, but Dalinar tells her that his people have been in full control at the time, and this basically meant that Elhokar suspected Dalinar or his men. Dalinar goes over to speak with Elhokar and learns that Sadeas had suggested becoming High Prince of Information as it was less threatening than High Prince of War, but would also allow the High Princes to become more used to ideas of High Princes being in charge of specific things. Dalinar thinks that Sadeas outmaneuvered him brilliantly. Elhokar doesn't seem to realize what he's done and tells Dalinar that this will be for the best. So what do you think about Sadeas becoming High Prince of Information?
Who's Sadeas again?
He's the guy in charge of all the bridge crews.
Ah.
The whole fucking mood. Who is he again?
He's one of the main High Princes. He's kind of an asshole. Adolin hates him. He's the one who decides to do all the bridgeman stuff.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
makes sense of why nobody likes him. Got it.
Cause what's his name? Was it Kaladin? I don't know. He was like, I hate him. He did this.
Well, yeah, he blamed because Sadeas is in charge of the bridge crew, so he's the one who
Yeah.
decides that like we can't have Surge and stuff. Yeah, he's also the High Prince that's closest to Elhokar, just like Dalinar was, because they were the two that were closest to the king before he died. Sadeas was also the one who pretended to be the king during the assassination. Like he put himself in harm's way. So just gonna wait a minute.
Hey, he's the one that did that?
Yeah, he's Sadeas is the one who pretended to be the king to try and
No,
lure
cause
his-
I liked him for his, like some reason, but now he seems like a completely different person.
No, I mean Adolin's the whole time has been like complaining about Sadeas.
Okay, but like I don't care about his opinion. I care about
Yeah,
mine.
that's fine. But yeah, no. So he's the one who was like, he was like, I'll pretend to be the king when like this assassin's coming, so that hopefully the assassin comes after me instead. But then Zeth figured out that the plan, and he was like, no, this guy seems.
It was all part of his plan.
You think Sadeas wanted the king dead?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, moving on to chapter 23, the last chapter, which is called Many Uses. So the epigraph is, you have accused me of arrogance in my quest. You've accused me of perpetuating my grudge against Rayz and Babadin. Both accusations are true. So note here, Babadin is the name of Autonomy's vessel. So apparently the writer is against both Rayz and Autonomy.
Both evil.
Like either of them.
Got it. Yeah, both evil. Got it.
So why do you think the letter writer has a grudge against both Rayz and Babadin?
And probably because they're both bad people, or bad gods.
The writer or the
Unlike
person they're
Kaladin.
writing to?
The
Unlike
writer
Kaladin.
has a grudge against them. The person writing this letter.
Or unlike Kelsier, they're bad gods.
Not that. Maybe maybe they're both doing Autonomy or whatever was doing the same thing that what's his name is doing.
Rayz.
The other side, the bad one, yeah.
Mm.
And so like they clashed and everything, and it worked out because one of them died, but
What do you mean one of them died?
well, one of them splintered or whatever.
But if Rayz is Odium, like we were thinking about, both Odium and Autonomy are not splintered.
What's the other one that splintered?
It was Autonomy, not Autonomy. It was Ambition. Ambition is the Threnody one.
Right.
Autonomy is the White Sand God.
That's how I was like, huh?
Sorry, they're both A names. Yeah, Ambition is the Shattered one. Autonomy is the White Sand
Right.
God.
So maybe they're both doing the same thing.
So basically, what you're saying is the person writing this is a world hopper.
A world hopper, or potentially even something more. They seem to have very intimate knowledge about the different shards and specifically their vessels as well, because they constantly refer to the vessels by their names instead of by their shard names.
It's just Brandon's self-insert. I got it.
What if I forgot. Hold on. I gotta sneeze again. Oh my god, I better not be getting sick. I forgot what I was gonna say.
You sneezed out your thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's not coming back to me.
Okay, I'll move on. So we go back to Kaladin's point of view as he and Bridge 4 are outside the war camps collecting stones. Kaladin is glancing over the landscape that has plants slightly out of their shells and trunks, knowing that there are some trees and patches of grass around. He then gets back to work hauling stones up onto the cart as the bridgemen carry the stones over to a nearby pile. While he was doing this, Rock and Teft were searching for knobweed reeds. Syl had started leading Rock around so that as she also searched, which made Teft confused as to how Rock was getting so many more reeds than he was. So what do you think about Syl helping Rock find these reeds?
I was more interested in what she did to him later. And she was like, why the fuck is he not I
I tried to play a prank on him and he didn't get it.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's what that's called.
So you guys didn't have any thoughts about Syl helping Rock out and then find the knobweed?
I mean,
it was pretty cool.
yeah, it's cool.
Poor Teft is like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
The
I have no idea why they're
potential,
talking to nothing.
the potential of her being used as an infiltrator and stuff like a spy.
Mhm.
Still the spy. Yay.
I can imagine her just having her little music. Dun, 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 dun.
Imagine her
She could be
humming that to
invisible to
herself because
everybody.
no one could hear her anyways.
She's humming to the wind, you know.
So
Get
Denny,
it? She's a wind sprite.
yeah, she is. So Denny and Earless Jax brought over a large stone on a sled, and Kaladin helped them lift it onto the cart. He praises the size of the stone, and Jax just grumbles and leaves. Some of the bridgemen weren't happy, as Rock had suspected, about being given stone gathering duty. Kaladin then discreetly ties a bundle of reeds to the bottom of the cart, hoping that no one would check it after they got back to the war camps. Rock then comes over with a stone and some reeds, which Kaladin places into the cart. Rock asks what they'll do if the reeds are found, and Kaladin replies that he'll pretend he wanted to make a hat. Selden points Rock to some more reeds before coming back to speak to Kaladin. She tells him that she likes Rock because of how respectful he is, but she also detests that he is too respectful, and thus would not follow him around instead of Kaladin. She tells Kaladin that she led Rock to some Chuldung as a prank, but he just tried to look for meaning in why she had brought him there. So what did you think about Syl's thoughts on Rock? She both likes him and detests him for how respectful he is.
I think it's cute on both their part.
What do you think, Mythic?
Yeah, it's kind of the same. It's pretty adorable, to be honest.
It reminds me of something we've read before, but I can't put my finger on it.
I don't know.
I'll bring it up if I remember.
Okay. Another bridgeman, Natam, comes over with a stone, and Kaladin tries to speak to him, but the man just shrugs and leaves when Kaladin says that stone gathering duty will help get them favor with Gaz and the other bridge crews. He then tells Syl that he wishes he could have pinned the duty change on Gaz, but Syl replies that would be untruthful, and she values honesty. Scar comes up with a stone, and Kaladin stops talking to Syl for a moment. So what do you think about Syl's insistence on telling the truth and not lying?
Oh my god, she's gonna eventually make him follow the fucking, what's it called? The thing that one king is following.
The codes?
Mhm.
I don't think Kaladin has money for wine anyway, so at least he's not going to be getting drunk.
Right.
What do you think, Mythic, about Syl's insistence on not lying?
I mean, she values honesty. So do I.
Once Scar had left, Kaladin states that the men don't care, even though he had saved some bridgemen, and that they are like animals. He also states that he needs to give them a reason to live, as helping them live isn't enough. The times get forward to the evening as Kaladin, Rock, and Teft make their way through the dark alleys of the war camp, passing by soldiers on their way to the wagon yard. Teft almost leaves to go back to camp, but Rock insists that he stays, and Kaladin says that they need him. Eventually they get to the wagons, and Kaladin points them each off to a different row to search the wagons that they had the reeds tied to. Rock soon finds the correct wagon and points Kaladin off to it, then gets Teft, who lets out a small yelp that luckily isn't heard by the boy watching the chulls. So what do you think about Rock's insistence that Teft continues to help?
Well, they need the team.
Yeah, they go muted again. Just give me
It makes sense that he's gonna want to keep them together, you know. Also, this whole situation is giving me very much Elantris vibes.
Is it?
Yeah.
When they're like in New Elantris trying to like clean it up and get everything ready?
Essentially, this is I was gonna say Spook.
Spirit?
Yeah, there you go. It's Spirit and his little not little, but like the dude.
Rock is Galadon.
Yeah, him.
They even have the weird ways of speaking because they're from different countries.
Right, and he calls him what's his name? He calls him
instead of calling him what was the word for crazy? Kaya something is what Galadon always says, and Rock uses Erisic Lowlander.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They'd get along well. I mean, Galadon's here. Maybe they'll meet up. So as Kaladin ties the bundles of reeds, Syl appears and tells Kaladin that there are no guards around besides the one boy. She also mentions that she found some bottles nearby that she can lead him to. Once they have all the bundles, Kaladin follows Syl to the bottles, which are discarded behind a tavern. Kaladin finds 3 good bottles and then tells Rock and Teft to try to look like they're doing something monotonous so they aren't questioned. They eventually get back to the lumberyard and make their way to the honor chasm so that they aren't seen or bothered. He thinks that if he fails to save the bridgeman, the wretch will take control of him again. Kaladin milks one of the reeds, happy to get 2 drops of the milky sap, and throws the used reed into the chasm so that there isn't any evidence. He then tells Teft that the sap is an antiseptic that scares away rot spren. Teft asks why Kaladin cares about the men, and Kaladin replies that he's the bridge leader, which can mean whatever he wants it to mean. Kaladin then asks Rock about his past and speaks about how his people have no Rock speaks about how his people have no shards, whereas other countries have at least one blade and plate set. It was said that the first Horn Year to get a blade would become king, and so his new Atoma came down to try and defeat a Shardbearer so that he could win a blade and plate. His new Atoma had challenged Sadeas for his plate, but he lost, and so all of his men became Sadeas's. He also mentions that he is the cousin to the new Atoma, which is like a Light Eyes, both out Light Eyes, and that the cousins of a new Atoma were his servants. So what did you think about Rock being a servant for his cousin?
You gotta start somewhere.
What do you think, Mythic?
Oh, I mean, I thought that was pretty neat. That was a pretty neat family dynamic, to be honest. It didn't seem malicious, like, at least from his perspective, you know. It was almost like something that, you know, they're
So that
supposed to do as
kind
family.
of property and then got given to another guy when his fucking cousin died.
I mean, you know, he seems to be okay with it, so there's, you know, at least there's, what's the word, consent there.
So Teft states that he wouldn't want to be a servant to his relatives, but Rock says it's better than being a servant to a random man like Sadeas. He also mentions that there's too much air down here, and it makes the minds of men sick. Kaladin then states that Sadeas wouldn't have allowed Rock's cousin to take his plate, even if he had one. Rock then states that he had been his new Atoma's cook, and that he had become a cook for Sadeas when his new Atoma was slain. However, for one meal he enhanced Sadeas' soup with cheldung, along with putting it in his bread and meat sauce. This was why he was sent to be a bridgeman.
That's hilarious. It's hilarious. I'm a cook, by the way. Oh, by the way, I'm poisoning your food.
I'm gonna put cheldung in like every single
It's
aspect
literally
of the meal.
shit.
He literally put shit, like cow manure type stuff, into every single portion of this guy's meal.
He's like, I sprinkled it with a bit of.
He's like, I baked it into the bread, I cooked it into the soup, I added it to the garnish, I added it to the meat sauce. It's like, goddamn, Rock. He's like, there's so many uses for cheldung. Teft laughs loudly and says he owes Rock a drink. Teft then asks Kaladin to share his story, but Kaladin is hesitant. He states that he killed a man and was thanked for it. However, Light Eyes don't react well when you turn down their gifts. He doesn't say more, and then continues to work with the knobweeds. So what do you think about Kaladin's response to why he is here?
What do you think is Kaladin's response, huh? I mean, wait, the response to Rock, why Rock was here?
No, so
No.
Kaladin afterwards
okay.
says that, like, we get, like, a tiny more hint of, like, what happened to Kaladin, which he mentions that Light Eyes don't
He
react
killed
well when you turn down their gifts.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same sentiment that he made earlier about, like, if you were to, you know, actually win against them, they wouldn't give you the shard blade anyways, or shard plate. Like, so I feel like there's something connected on that too.
So as our last chapter, we now have their overview questions. So first of all, do you think we're going to see more of Dalinar's visions?
Yes, for sure. Now that we've seen one, we're going to see them all.
There's gonna be 16.
Gonna be 16 visions? He said 12 so far.
No, dead ass. Like, I'm not even being funny. Like, it's gonna be 16.
Do you think we're gonna get 4 more?
Yeah.
Do you think we're gonna see all of them from now on, since we've gotten the first one now?
Maybe not, but I do feel like it definitely is 16, considering that he said he's gonna give him what he can do, and I'm assuming 16 is a pretty, like, you know,
It's apparently a very important
core
number.
number.
Yeah. Also, what do you think is going to happen now that Sadeas is High Prince of Information?
A lot of misinformation coming.
Do you think he's gonna try and blame everything on Dalinar, like Dalinar thinks?
Yeah.
Probably.
I feel like Dalinar's already, like, going down that road of, like, oh, guess who's becoming a slave next, you know?
But he also has been told that he should trust Sadeas by the
No.
voice.
Maybe Sadeas, but, like, the dude is paranoid, the other dude.
Elokar, yeah. Elokar's very, very paranoid.
They cut I swear they cut it. They cut it. I swear.
Assassins are everywhere. They're coming for me.
They killed my father. They're gonna come for me too.
Also, do you think we're gonna get more bridgemen joining Kaladin's small little group of allies, or do you think it's gonna mainly be the 3 of them?
No, we're definitely gonna get, like, he's gonna get the whole bridge crew eventually.
I mean, Hobber definitely seems like he's gonna join them once his leg is better. He really seems to like Kaladin.
Exactly. They got this.
So yeah, that's it. Do you guys?
They're gonna have a whole group.
Do you guys have any other theories?
Wait, that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You didn't realize that we were in the last chapter?
I think I read ahead.
Did you?
Oh
No.
no.
Better not.
That would have been hilarious, though.
I mean, I make that joke literally every time, so.
You do. So yeah, do you guys have any other thoughts or theories?
Nope. I think I've said all my theories.
So next time we're reading chapters 24 to 27.
Alright, make sure you pin it this time.
I pin it every single time. Whoops, I'm
Make sure you
replying,
don't
so you're kidding.
misspell the chapter.
I'm
Yeah,
not misspelling
exactly.
the chapter. What do you mean? What if I misspelled a chapter?
Just how you misspelled his name?
I made a singular typo on his name.
Mm-hmm. That's probably not the only thing you misspell. You just haven't said anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Also, I feel like Mythic will be very happy with this. The number of pages we are covering is 69 pages.
Nice.
But yeah, so thank you guys all so much for listening. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.